Last time we discovered the chickadee runs the alarm system in your backyard. It decides who feeds, who flees, who survives. But there is something the chickadee will not tell you. It is not the top of the pyramid. There is a smaller bird with bigger eyes, with a louder voice. And the chickadee actually listens to it, not just hears it, listens, and changes its behavior because of it. By the end of this video, you will know who, why, and what it tells you about your own backyard, and probably about yourself. Most people assume the chickadee is the smartest bird in the yard. That is not wrong, but it is incomplete, because there is a rule scientists have known for almost 15 years. In any backyard where both chickadees and titmice live, the chickadees follow the titmice, not the other way around. And the reason is going to surprise you. Let me introduce you to the tufted titmouse. Scientific name, Baeolophus bicolor. Small gray songbird, white belly, big black eyes, and a crest that makes it look permanently surprised. It weighs about as much as 4 pennies. It looks innocent. It is not. Because in 2011, 2 researchers at the University of Florida, Harrison Contreras and Hetrick Sieving, followed 20 mixed species winter flocks across north-central Florida. And what they found was this: when a flock of birds moves through the trees, the chickadees, the nuthatches, the warblers, they all follow the titmouse. Not because the titmouse is bigger, it is actually one of the smallest birds in the group. Not because it is louder, plenty of birds are louder, but because the titmouse is what scientists call a nuclear species. Nuclear, like the nucleus of an atom. Everything else orbits around it. The flock moves where the titmouse moves, eats where the titmouse eats, and freezes when the titmouse freezes. Now here is where this story gets weird, because if you remember from last time, the chickadee is the bird with the most sophisticated alarm system in your backyard. The DD call, the variable number of D notes encoding predator size, the whole Templeton study from 2005. So how does a smaller bird with simpler instincts end up bossing around the chickadee? Here is the answer, and it changes everything. The titmouse has its own alarm system, and in some ways it is even better than the chickadees. Researchers Hetrick and Sieving recorded titmice in response to live predators in controlled experiments. They found that titmice use D notes too, just like chickadees. But here's the difference. Chickadees encode predator size in the number of D notes per call, titmice encoded in the number of D notes per second. It is like comparing a flip phone to a stopwatch. Same information, faster delivery. And then Hetrick and Sieving did something brilliant. They played the titmouse alarm calls to captive chickadees who had never met a titmouse before. The chickadees responded perfectly. They distinguished hawk calls from owl calls, small predator from big predator, air threat from ground threat, just from listening to the titmouse. That is heterospecific information transfer, a fancy way of saying the chickadee can read the titmouse, and it works the other way around too. Picture this: a cardinal lands on your feeder. A chickadee is already there. The chickadee tenses, but it does not flee. Why? Because a titmouse perched 2 feet above on a branch is calm. Its body is relaxed, its calls are soft. The chickadee reads the titmouse's calm posture as a guarantee that nothing dangerous is happening. The titmouse does not have to say anything. Its silence is the message. And then a 2017 study went one step further. They played titmouse mobbing calls to wild chickadees and wild titmice in the same forest. Both species responded, but the chickadees responded faster, stronger. They trusted the titmouse alarm more than they trusted each other. Think about that for a second. In a fight, the chickadees trust the smaller bird's judgment over their own. Here is something the studies do not say out loud, but the data implies. The titmouse spends more time being still. It watches, it scans, it calculates. Researchers call this sentinel behavior. And in mixed species flocks, the titmouse takes that job seriously. It perches high on a branch with a panoramic view, while everyone else is busy stuffing their faces at the feeder. It is like the lookout in a heist movie. Quiet, patient, eyes everywhere. And when something is wrong, it does not run, it calls. And that call is so precise, so trustworthy, that the chickadee, the smartest bird in the yard, does not bother double-checking. It just reacts. And here is what scientists found. Chickadees in mixed species flocks with a titmouse spend up to 30% less time on lookout duty. Less vigilance means more eating. More eating means better fat stores. Better fat stores means surviving the next cold snap. The titmouse is not just keeping the chickadee safe, it is keeping it alive through winter. The titmouse is, quite literally, a life extension service. Now think about what that means. Last time we said the chickadee runs the alarm system. That is still true, but the chickadee runs an alarm system for its own kind, mostly. The titmouse runs an alarm system for the entire ecosystem. Chickadees, nuthatches, warblers, cardinals, sometimes even squirrels. It is not just bossy, it is the closest thing your backyard has to a public broadcasting service, and it is free, 24 hours a day. So when the chickadee defers to the titmouse, it is not weakness, it is intelligence. The chickadee is brilliant within its species. The titmouse is brilliant across species. That is a different kind of power. But wait, some of you watching this are in the United Kingdom, and you are saying we do not have tufted titmice in Britain? You are right. But here is the wild part. There is a bird in your garden right now that does almost the exact same job. It is called the Great Tit, Parus major, cousin of the tufted titmouse, separated by tens of millions of years of evolution and one ocean. In 2020, a research team showed that British Great Tits respond to North American chickadee alarm calls perfectly. Not just notice them, decode them, respond appropriately. They had never met a chickadee in their entire evolutionary history, and they still understood every word. And here is something the Great Tits taught us about themselves. In the 1920s, somewhere in southern England, one Great Tit figured out how to peck through the foil cap of a milk bottle left on a doorstep and drink the cream off the top. Within 20 years, Great Tits all across Britain were doing it. They learned from each other. They invented a technology without language, without leaders, without internet. The Great Tit is to the British garden what the titmouse is to the American backyard. A small bird with a giant brain, and both of them somehow share the same emergency language. Scientists call this a phylogenetically conserved recognition mechanism, which is a polite way of saying the entire parrot family on 2 continents has been speaking the same emergency language for 40 million years. Long before there were humans, long before there were backyards, long before any of us were watching. And every morning, in a quiet street in Manchester, a Great Tit hears its neighbor sound the alarm, and it knows exactly what to do. Because the same instinct lives inside a tufted titmouse in Ohio, and inside a chickadee in Vermont, and inside the bird that runs them both. So here is what your backyard actually is. It is not random, it is not chaotic, it is an ancient broadcast system with a small, gray, permanently surprised bird at the microphone. The chickadee runs the alarm system. The titmouse runs the chickadee. And the chickadee does not mind, because the titmouse has been earning that trust for 40 million years, and nobody told us, until now. If you put a feeder in your yard tomorrow, watch carefully. The bird that arrives first is not the leader. The bird that arrives last, the one that perches high, the one that stares at the sky longer than anyone else, that is the bird in charge. But here is something I did not tell you. There is a bird that watches the titmouse, a bird with no flock, a bird that remembers your face better than your neighbor remembers it. Next time, we will meet the silent observer that even the titmouse will not argue with. And it is not who you think. If this changed how you see your backyard, subscribe and tell me in the comments. What is the bird you see first in the morning? I read everyone.